Good day and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, the original holistic pet health coach. I hope everyone is well and enjoying the day. I wanted to just pop in, and if you're here, wonderful. I know it's a busy time right now for a lot of folks. If you're watching the replay, I hope you're having a great Thanksgiving. Um, had a great Thanksgiving and that life is good. I wanted to express my thanks for your support over the year and my thanks to you for doing what you're doing to make sure that you're doing the very best you can for your pets. And the reason I wanted to do this is that um, I think we spend so much time worrying about if we're doing it right instead of taking time to realize that, yeah, I'm doing it right. I'm doing it the very best I can. And more importantly, for many of you, you are finding better and better information that you can support your pets with. And Yvette, glad to see you from Ireland. We'll get over that side of the world again in March, back to Montenegro, back to Slovenia, and hopefully into the UK. So, Beth, happy Thanksgiving to you. Y'all, this has been such an honor in my life. So, again, back to kind of where I'm rambling a little bit today, but it's Thanksgiving, so I guess I'm entitled. But the thing that I want to say is thank you for being so worried about your pets and for knowing that the options that we're able to offer in conventional medicine maybe aren't the best, or they're not all the options. And believe me, I mean, if, for instance, I had a stomach virus in a couple of days ago, which thankfully cleared quickly, but I can guarantee you, I was very grateful to get a shot in my butt to slow down the nausea and the cramping and the discomfort I was experiencing. And then what did I do after that? I started taking probiotics to kind of clear things up. But this is the deal, is that we need to use conventional medicine for what it's really good at, for getting us out of an urgent situation. And long term, we need to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to support our pets. The thing that almost nobody wants to do to start with is to actually cook or make food for their pets. And yet, that is the thing that is absolutely the most critical, foundational step. If you're feeding the equivalent of Doritos, which is what so many of the conventional foods are, then you're creating inflammation. You're creating a situation where your pet is likely going to have ongoing issues because their microbiome cannot stay healthy. And Hayo wants to come help. Yeah, come on. Yeah. So as much as we don't want to change what we're doing with food, honestly, y'all, that is the most critical thing to do first. And believe me, I've gone through that personally. When I was much younger, about 39, I was eating the standard American diet, and I had fibromyalgia and IBS and cervical disc pain and blah, 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 blah. And while changing diet wasn't the only solution, that removed something like 75% of the symptoms that I was dealing with on a daily basis. And that's kind of what functional medicine and traditional Chinese medicine is about. Not so much putting new things in, but taking out things that are creating the inflammation, creating the fire. So, as my friend Sinclair Canale says, your body is having a perfectly reasonable reaction to being poisoned. And that's what's happening with our pets. So, food, all of the toxins that are in the environment, we can't make them go away magically today. That's going to take several decades of changing our habits and our way of living. And it starts with making small changes today. But again, we're going to need to protect ourselves and our pets from all of the stuff that's in the environment over the next 2 decades until hopefully humanity figures this out. So, and if if you've got questions, just pop them in the chat. I'm happy to respond to them. Otherwise, I'm going to keep babbling on. But the other thing I wanted to thank you for your support over the year, because you've let me know that what I'm doing is what you are seeking. And it's kind of hard to sum up how that's changed, but I started working online probably in 2013. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just started doing lives on a regular basis. And what I found is that people were so desperate for help because they weren't able to get the information they needed from their veterinarian. Um, in 2013, there was still a lot of information on the internet, but not like there is today. And I think what has happened is that we are so connected with our phones, with everything else, that we're overwhelmed with the information. And it's incredibly difficult to sort through what's really valid and what's somebody's thing that they think is right or that worked for their dog that may not work for all dogs. So I encourage you to be grateful for your ability to have so much information at hand, but to be discerning about what you take into account. I think a lot of us go, like, we'll purchase the 12 supplements for our pets based on testimonials that people are seeing uh, on product pages. And testimonials are super in terms of, yes, this gives you an indication that this worked really well or it didn't work really well. Mostly that it worked really well, because we tend to, uh, as people selling products, many people will filter out the negative reviews instead of addressing, potential issues that are present. So that's the other thing that's incredibly important, is to take a deep breath before you take action. And the reason I say that is, when we're in the state of, oh my God, my dog has cancer. Oh my God, my dog is in so much pain. I'll do anything to fix it. We tend to lose focus on what's true and what's not true. And so what I encourage you to do is to own the gap, which means taking that deep breath between, oh my God, my dog has cancer, and here's the 27 things I've seen on the internet, to discern what makes the most sense for you and your dog. There are folks that, my godmother, I love her dearly. She has a lot going on in her life. Her little dog has horrible stomatitis, GI issues, and um, an itchy foot. And we talked about diet and blah, 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 blah. She's not in a position to do that because her husband has uh, really severe Alzheimer's or dementia. And so her focus is on taking care of him. So I think it's important to understand, before you launch into anything, what can I do? What can I actually execute on a daily basis? And so that's the other critical thing, because so many of these kits to treat various conditions are pretty complex. And on the human side, that happens as well. We may have all these supplements and the timing of them, and it just gets arduous. So think carefully about what you can commit to. And instead of going for the whole enchilada, if your time is really restricted, you've got a lot going on in your life, you're caring for others as well as for your sick pet, think about the one or two things that you can execute really well on a regular basis. And then once those are second nature, then add in other things if it's needed. And I think that's one of the other things that we forget. We see the 27 things and we think we need to do them all. Oftentimes, doing one, two, three things, especially if one of the things is getting the diet correct, is enough to really make a big difference in the pet. I cannot tell you how many of my holistic pet health coaches have been able to use diet and one or two supplements to get their clients' pets off of Apoquel. So it can be that simple. And Laura, welcome. Good to see you. So her pup's been eating a higher fat version of Crock Pet diet for the past year to help offset weight loss. He's just been diagnosed with chronic pancreatitis. And she's reduced the fat to get them back to normal. What's a good long-term strategy to help prevent scares? Feels really scary. Totally get it. So here's the thing to realize about pancreatitis. In veterinary medicine, the deal is, and I've heard many internists say this over the years, is it's not to restrict fat forever. It's to restrict fat to less than what the dog was eating before. And the other thing is the quality or the type of fat can be a big factor. So, for instance, we say, oh, coconut oil, it's the best thing in the universe. Well, the truth is that coconut oil can create problems with pancreatitis. And so, if that's the main oil that you've been feeding, then I would suggest you'd stop the coconut oil and go to other healthy oils. There's a huge raging debate about seed oils being evil incarnate. And what I would tell you is this: avocado oil, olive oil, and grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, all of those. The deal is look at how they are produced. If they are extra virgin or cold pressed, then that means that the oil is being extracted using compression, literally. It's the other ones that you have to be concerned about that use things like hexane and mashing up the remnants of the first press. That's where we get into trouble. The other deal about seed oils is that there are problems when you cook with them. And so if you're adding the oil secondary to the food having cooled, then it's a much safer option. The other thing you can consider too are healthy grass-fed lards or tallows. So lard is pork, tallow is beef. That's totally another option as well. And Laura, good for you because of this very option. So what I would encourage you to do is, if he's better but still not completely back to normal, you're still dealing with chronic inflammation. And the other part of chronic pancreatitis is indeed the chronic inflammation. And so that's where I would encourage you to do things like Glacier Peak's pet wellness scan to look at food, make sure that he does not have leaky gut, underlying things. And I'll drop a link there for that. And once you've done that, then change the diet so that you are rotating through foods. Again, a rotation and elimination diet. You've got a couple of coaches on here, Melissa, Beth, and they can help you figure out how to do that. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to start with, but the idea is this, is that if we stop feeding the things that are creating the inflammation, then we're able to reduce the inflammation because the immune system starts to calm down. So that's step one. And then using things that will help seal the gut. And again, that Glacier Peaks test is going to be critical to use because it's going to tell you what's the best option in terms of products. What can you use in the short term? Slippery Elm. Digestes is another one that I've really enjoyed using over the years. If you don't know it, it is a human product. It is shellfish based. And so for many pets, that's a great solution because they have sensitivities to other things like beef and whatnot. But there are pets that have issues in terms of shellfish. And so that's, again, why it's important to make sure that you're getting the right option for your pet. So I'll drop you a link there. And then the other thing is you can use medicinal mushrooms as well to help calm things down. So we put together a couple of options, and this is for pets more that don't have issues. But this is a bundle we pulled together. It includes Phytospore, which is a probiotic. It does have a beef flavoring, and Gussie's Gut to help improve the microbiome by providing a fermented functional food, which I think is super helpful as well. Because we can throw in all the probiotics we want, but if we're not supporting the bugs with what they need to eat, then we're not going to get the healing that we want from it. Now, the 3 mushrooms that are in there are lion's mane, chaga, and tremella. And you may or may not be super familiar with them. Let me just pop over and share this with you so you can take a look together. Um, but these three mushrooms are super important um, in terms of improving gut health. And so, if you wanted to start with one, I would start with either lion's mane or tremella. And I'm leaning more towards tremella because its ability to help lubricate things, get a nice calming effect in terms of smoothing over the mucus layer in the gut is really unparalleled. And I think it's a mushroom that many others are not talking about, but it can be super useful. And the other thing that's awesome is that it has essentially no taste. So, for instance, it's used in lieu of noodles because it is basically tasteless. So it's an awesome, awesome thing to start adding in, and especially for a pet that's a little picky. And then, Laura, because your guy still isn't feeling great, then there's a couple of other things you could use. CBD is certainly one of those because it will help calm down abdominal discomfort. And the other option, and there's a couple, there's a couple of options out there as well. One is certainly CBD dog health product. The other one we've really been getting some great results with is Rooted Owl. If you're not familiar with that, it does have full spectrum CBD plus isolates plus several terpenes and cartophyllines. And so this is another thing that can be a real big boost because it has different components of the hemp plant. We can see it start to exert an effect that is much more calming, and ultimately the pain control that we've seen with many of these guys has been much better. So I'll drop you a link for that too, but it's been super helpful for Hio in terms of her belly, um, actually in terms of her pain level. Um, Yep. Interesting. So, oh, not that one, this one. Right on. And so I think if you're using an algae-based oil, um, you're probably going to need about a teaspoon per day to get the effective dose of omega-3s. And that's, I mean, I flashed this up there really quickly, but he's sensitive to fish-based omega-3. Um, And so that's pretty critical. So as he's starting to feel better, what I would do is reintroduce it really, really slowly. And so you literally may start with an eighth of a teaspoon per meal. And over the course of 2 weeks, titrate up to a teaspoon, which should deliver you somewhere around 750 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acid. I'm not sure how much your pup weighs, but that's a reasonable dose to start with. And if it's so, it sounds like he may have some fish sensitivity, which calamari is in a class by itself in terms of fish, but that may make digestes be a bit of a problem for your buddy. The other option you could consider, there's a product by Microbiome Labs called Mega Immune. It's in a capsule form that is bovine immunoglobulins and albumin, and that's been helpful for sealing the gut. And then there are several other things, like I think Adored Beast has a nice um, slippery elm marshmallow root product that will help improve the mucin layer. And then, if this is available to you, and certainly you can get them in frozen form, is okra. Okra has a specific pepsin that helps ease digestion. And then the reason that most humans don't like to eat it, that mucus that it produces, is very soothing to the gut. And so you can add this into the diet, on a regular basis, and that can be very, very helpful for soothing the gut. So, Laura, I hope that's been helpful. Um, so the other thing I want you to be aware of too is that there is a lot of stuff out there, right? And there are a lot of good folks that are good at marketing. And I think it's important for you to think through what's marketing and what's actually there to support my pet. So this is part of this discernment process. Right on. Okay, I love this is one of the things we really miss. When I grew up in the South, and this is something we miss tremendously. The really cool thing is that it's in Montenegro and Turkey, so we've been enjoying that this summer. Um, but yeah, it's a great and way underutilized vegetable, especially for gut health. So yeah, so that's kind of it, is discerning what's going to be helpful, what's not going to be helpful. And I just showed you a bundle. And so at the risk of calling bullshit on myself, um, the reason I put that bundle together like that is because those are things that I know will end up supporting your dog or your cat's digestive function. And I don't recommend things unless I know that they will work, but it's difficult to know that. You know me. Hopefully you believe that what I'm doing is out of concern for your pup, and that we are choosing the things that will do the best and for the least amount of money. So again, if you've got questions, pop them in. Man, you guys, I'm happy you're spending some time with me today. This is super awesome. Um, so let me talk a little bit about what we've got coming up in this year. Um, as you know, we developed the Holistic Pet Health Coach Certification Program. We have 80 graduates of the program. We have another 125 people that are taking the program and are in process of their certification. We literally have an international tribe at this point. We have students in El Salvador, and the UK and Estonia and France. I am so honored that this message is being picked up the world over. I am doing my level best to help veterinarians understand how the coaches can actually support them and not be in opposition or trying to take their business. Veterinarians are crushed, honestly, crushed right now by the amount of patients they need to care for. And it's extremely difficult for them to be able to do the patient education that you, the pet parent, desperately wants. That's why the coaches exist, because they understand the physiology and the anatomy so that they can help you understand what the diagnosis your pet received means and what the conventional care formula would be for that, as well as offering you lifestyle changes. And if you are not familiar with what that means, it's what we were just talking about: diet, exercise, and then meditation. So we're doing the meditation, but if we are able to calm ourselves, then we can help our pets calm down. So one of the things that happens for all of us, if we're in a state of chronic disease, our bodies are under chronic state stress. And what that means is that your parasympathetic nervous system is suppressed. Your sympathetic, the fight or flight, is very high. And when that happens, our cortisol levels stay high as well, which is another thing, Laura, that can be related to chronic pancreatitis. So this is one of the things that I think will help you help your dog. And what that means is that if you do nothing but put your cell phone into airplane mode, and hopefully if you're in a place where the weather's not too horrid yet, go outside and just hang out and pet your dog, be calm, be present, then what you're going to see is that your energy level comes down into that parasympathetic or rest and digest state, and your dog's does as well. One of the other things that you can do is, here's a video on YouTube that I did a couple of years ago about clearing energy. And so if your intent is to let all that does not serve go away and bring in that which is life sustaining, this is a great way for you to be doing something to help the calm and the focus come for your pet. So I think that's critical. It's often, for most of us, if we don't have some sort of mindfulness practice pulled together, whether that's meditation, prayer, taking a walk, gardening, something that you're present in your body and your mind is going quiet, this is a good place to start because you're actually focusing on moving the energy, letting go of that which does not serve, and bringing in that which does and which elevates. So I hope that that is helpful. All right, y'all. Wesley, I'm great. Great to see you. Right on. So Wesley is one of our students. Yeah, and we have a lot of our coaches that are indeed making food for pet parents, which is amazing because you have the training in how to manipulate the food to support healing, and you can make a targeted, specific diet for that pet right off the rip. So Wesley, right on. We've got some materials in the coaching area to help you figure out how to do this and make a decent living doing that. So sweet. Glad to hear you're after that. So y'all, I just wanted to jump on for a little bit today to say happy Thanksgiving, to express my gratitude for your support over the years, and also to make you aware, if you are not, what these coaches can do to support you and your pet. Because as I like to say, Melissa Sherman, one of our graduates, has helped me with Hayo. Last March, I guess it was, Hayo started having neck pain about January, and it took me a long time to figure out what was going on, and really severe pain to the point where every time she would try to eat, she'd get a shooting pain and became afraid of her food. Well, it put me into a state of immobilization. Melissa was able to talk with Hayo, do some energy healing, and help me get my mind reset so that I could take the action to figure out what I needed to do next. And so for Hayo, she needed some prednisone. And while most of us don't ever want to use the Western meds, it brought her relief. It brought her the ability to start eating again and not be afraid of her food bowl. And it gave me the time I needed to figure out other options. So she still has some problems off and on, but thankfully they're not anywhere near severe as they used to be. So you all take good care of yourselves. Give thanks for all of the people around you that support you. And take good care. And Margaret, I will answer this really quick. Recommendations for nutrition about a cat just diagnosed with hypothyroidism. That's interesting. Generally, it's hyperthyroidism, so elevated. And again, if that's the case, that's pretty unusual. And what that means is that the endocrine system is really out of whack. So, Margaret, I think the first deal is if you're using a conventional food, especially kibble, the first deal is to try to transition from kibble to canned food and from canned food to either cooked or raw. But that's the first deal, is getting the diet right, because underlying it is hyperthyroidism. Don't use the low iodine diet because that creates other issues. But that's part of it. And then the other thing is figuring out how to clear excess hormone. It's often not what you think. There is a nodule on the thyroid, but it's often because the liver is unable to clear those excess hormones. So again, talk to one of the coaches. They can help you out with that, Margaret. You all, thank you so much for all you do. Have a great, happy Thanksgiving with your family, and we'll see you soon.